Good evening, everyone. This is the September 2nd meeting of the East Long Meadow Community Preservation Committee. In attendance is John Torsha, Ralph Cooley, Brian Davis, and Lynn Booth. Uh, so to start off, I just want to say to the committee, thank you for the patience. We've sort of had a bit of a rigmarole getting things together. Our last meeting was canceled as a result of the power outage that affected the town. And I had been waiting to see if conditions could change for us to possibly have an in-person meeting, and that has not unfortunately happened as of yet. So we're doing it virtually, getting into the this sort of new field, like many other committees in town across the area have been doing. One procedural thing I wanted to say, so I had the opportunity a few weeks back to speak to Stuart Saginaw. He is the CPC representative for our region, and he was very helpful. I came into this, beginning to learn a lot of the history about the CPC, some of the procedures of the CPC. So he was incredibly helpful about that. He also gave some feedback to the two applications that we have in front of us this evening. So I'm probably going to be going off of some of his comments as well as my own questions and comments as well. The last time that we met, not in March, but in February, we had a vote on a certain, deciding when to hear a certain project. And according to Stuart, we had a 4-to-1 vote. And because we were told at that point in time, or I think it was said that you needed 5 votes because you needed a majority of every position that's on the committee. We only currently have 6 people as part of the committee. We really should have 9. And he said, even if you have only 5 people at the committee, so we reach quorum, it is permissible to have, things can operate on a 3-to-2 vote, or things can be struck down on a 3-to-2 vote. So even if you have one dissenter in this situation. So I'm going, as long as I'm, chair and on this committee, I'm going to make sure that the procedure is followed a little bit more clearly. So that's on me. So I've sort of kind of read up and gotten prepared to make sure that, when we have these next 2 applications in front of us right now, and then when we have the October 1 deadline for the new season for new applications, I will make sure that things try to go smoothly, and that everything is kind of legal and the process is correct. One other thing that I did between the time since we've last met is I had the opportunity to go to the Norcross House. A number of committee members invited me because they have intent of possibly filing a application, most likely for the October 1 deadline. So I think I've only been to the Norcross House once before. So it was very interesting to get to see this landmark that's in our community, and they have been kind of hampered by the fact that the pandemic has meant that they've been unable to, generate any revenue. They've had to cancel on a lot of different events that they've had. They usually have weddings there. Their committee does fundraisers. There's, parties or things that are held, private parties that are held. So it's been a really great place for people to go to have these events. And unfortunately, they haven't been able to get that revenue because of everything that COVID-19 has been causing. So expect that on the radar at some point soon. And then also, one other thing I just forgot. My hope is I've been trying to go through to recruit people. I've asked about 3 or 4 individuals, and to no avail. I've not been successful so far, but Lynn passed somebody on to me that I'll be getting in contact with this week. And I'm going to keep trying so that the next time we have a committee meeting, hopefully we have new members to hopefully fill out the rest of the vacant seats on the committee. So now I am going to have Mary McNally speak before we get into the kind of the meat of the meeting, the application. So if we can get Mary into the discussion. I think she might be muted, or
She's coming. Huh.
now we see you.
Almost.
Almost there.
Unmute, Mary.
Okay, how's that sound?
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you too, also to the members of the committee for letting me barge into your agenda tonight. But I just became aware of it yesterday with regard to a couple of projects that were on for discussion. So I reached out to John by phone yesterday afternoon and just spoke about my concern that some of these projects, the two in particular that are on your agenda for tonight, I would like to urge your committee to perhaps just pause and not take action on these tonight for a couple of reasons. The primary one is that we're on the cusp of getting a grant for a complete and comprehensive master plan for the community, which, as you all know, the most recent one was from 1976. So we're in dire need of that. And Bethany Yao, who's our new planning director, has been working with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission on a grant application. And we're very optimistic that that grant is going to be funded in the full amount sought. That combined with the rec department's continuing work on the open space program, as well as the fact that I, as the town manager, have not been made aware of the history or the progress of any of or either of the two projects that are on for tonight. And I'm a bit reluctant to have committees take action that impacts the use of town property without having any input from me. And I don't mean that in a controlling sense by any stretch. I simply mean that I think it's very important that our overall planning, be it for recreational purposes or historic purposes or preservation of any kind, should be integrated with our master plan and with the directives or the advice and opinions of the town manager's office. So that's kind of my 2 cents worth. I think that the ideas in front of the committee or anything put forth in an application, I'm not commenting on the value of the substance of those. Personally, I think they're both great ideas, but for example, the Pine Knoll Playground, I think that application was submitted in March of this year. And shortly after March of this year, we closed every playground we had and roped them off, and with criminal tape, for heaven's sakes. And who knows where COVID is going from here. So I think the urgency that may have propelled that project to you has abated. Also, the entire use of the Pine Knoll acreage in terms of its position in our open space program, I want time to think more thoroughly about that and discuss some other plans that I don't have any specific plans. I said this to John yesterday, I'm not trying to be coy or be cute about having a plan in my pocket that I'm not willing to share, because I don't. There are a lot of ideas floating around. I want to give our planning department and our new director an opportunity to do some economic development pursuits. I have my own ideas on some of those things. So it's kind of in that general context of trying to just take a more comprehensive view and not pass on projects in a piecemeal fashion because I think they may not integrate well with the overall comprehensive program that I have in mind and that I would like to see the town implement over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. So that was why I wanted to address you, just to give you my thought process. And one other slight issue pertains to, the liability, particularly on the dog park. I was told by Donna Prather that there were some conflicting opinions about whether or not the Big Y property manager was content to have passage from the Big Y parking lot and use of their parking service for access to the dog park. And I think that as a matter of just prudence, anything that deals with access over another person's property, that we should deal with that legally and make sure that we have the proper documentation, whether it's an agreement or if an easement is granted to somebody by the town or granted to the town. I think it's imperative that we take the steps to make sure that we do that right, so as to avoid legal conflicts and or any resulting liability. So there's a lot of things on my mind, and I know I'm throwing a lot of information all at once, but that's the way we have to do things lately. We throw a lot of information at once at each other, and hopefully we'll get a chance to evaluate it and think it through. So those are my thoughts, but I'm happy to answer any questions that any of the members of the committee might have, or to discuss privately or at any time that's more convenient for you. Just, you can, any of you can call my office at any time and work out a plan to sit down and have a conversation. Thank you, John.
Definitely. Thank you, Mary. Does anybody have any questions for Mary McNally?
I'm good. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, Lynn, you're welcome. Nice to see you too.
John, it's Brian. I'm good. Thank you for joining Mary.
Thanks, Brian. Good to talk with you.
So I want to thank Mary for taking time out of her day to speak with us. My hope is that we will kind of have a discussion with the applicants tonight if people have questions, but like Mary said, probably wait to flesh out some of these important sort of questions that kind of remain about these projects, and to try to work in concert with the with Bethany and the planning department to see if we can develop something that we're all on the same page with. So thank you again, Mary.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Okay, and next I am planning on having, by the order of the applicants on the agenda, by order of which one we received first, I'd like to have the application for the Ephraim Meadow Bark Park partial walkway installation. I know that I think the applicant is in the attendee list. I've also spoken to Bill, who is the president of the Dog Park Association, so I'm not sure if one or either of them would be able to come on to speak about it for a few minutes.
So Bill's coming on, and who's the other, John?
Melanie. I think there's, yes, a
Okay,
Melanie in the
great.
audience.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Melanie Akobe.
Hi, Melanie.
Let me see how to get this. Oh, the video was disabled. There I am. Hi.
And I think, okay, Bill's joining us as well.
Bill, you have to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Bill.
Yes.
So you want me to talk?
Either one can go first. I just wanted to say, to the committee, me and Bill had the opportunity to meet we actually ended up meeting at the dog park. The weather did not agree with us that day. It was, could not have rained harder that day, but I had the opportunity to look at the dog park in person. I live only 2 minutes away, but I've very rarely go to Heritage Park. Probably should be going more. And I don't own a dog, so I wanted to just kind of take a look in person what sort of the physical setup was, where the entrance was exactly. So yeah, if either one of you want to kind of go in, just give maybe a overview of about it to the committee, to those watching at home, and to the kind of the specifics.
Needless to say, I was a little bit disappointed in Ms. Walsh's comments about holding off. There seemed to be some concern about, when she brought up the idea of the Big Y property and that. The walkway that we're talking about is inside the perimeter of the park itself. It has nothing to do with any exterior properties or anything like that. That's a different subject altogether as far as getting the okay or agreement with Big Y to, park the cars there or do whatever they're going to do. In fact, I've had that conversation with Big Y already a couple of years ago, and that was satisfied at the time. But the pathway we had broken down into what I call two phases, and with the phase one being a couple 100 feet long and phase two being close to 300 feet long. And I've had comments from people that are disabled to some degree or other and upset that there was no way for them to really not only access the park, which is, we pretty much addressed that through DPW by making the pathway much smoother and less of an incline. But also once they're in there, they can't really get around because you're talking about a thickness of wood chips and like difficult with the wheelchairs or even crutches or canes to get around. So we wanted to address that as well. So and people had some positive comments about setting that up and looking forward to accommodating them because we couldn't do that initially. We specifically said that it was not going to be handicap accessible, so we had to go ahead and do what we could do, and this is addressing that to some degree. Melanie, did you have any comments to say or no?
No, you definitely hit the project details, Bill. The only thing I would add, just more so specifics on the request, which would be to cover for the actual pavement of the perimeter of the large park portion. So there's a smaller dog one. We only want to do the large dog portion for now because that's the one that's most frequently attended. So the request is for $4,600, and we are willing to match another $1,000 to complete the project. So just wanted to reiterate that.
So just to clarify, so this will be, there's already a walkway connecting into Big Y, so this will be inside the dog.
This is for the inside, correct? It has
Around.
nothing to do with the exits.
Okay. And there's already an existing entrance.
Correct. This is just to make it easier for people who are inside the park, because if you go in, you'll see that it's just all wood chips everywhere, which is good for the dogs, but it's a little difficult sometimes when you're chasing after your dog or a child or both.
So how many residents are a part of the organization or bring their dogs on a, I mean, I know COVID's kind of maybe threw some of that off, but perhaps.
I could tell you right now, because we have a registration process. So I have a file here at home of all the dogs that are registered to the park. I never took a specific count, but just based on the history of me filing them as they come in, probably 50% or a little bit more are East Line Meadow residents. Others are a combination of you'll be surprised how few Springfield residents. I know that was something that was brought up at the time when we were building the park, but includes Springfield, but there's a lot of surrounding towns, Wilbraham, Munson, Belchertown, Ludlow, Agawam, you name it. You know, it's a real cross section of registered dogs. So so that's just kind of my estimate. Maybe 50 to 60% are Eastline Meadow dogs, or yeah, dogs.
Yeah, so well, Stuart was very helpful in kind of, I think a lot of the questions that probably once we meet again about this, what I would probably be looking for, either maybe from you, but also probably working in concert with Mary or other people with the rec department, is making sure, you know, who would be liable, who would, whether it would be, because we could have a private vendor install it. We could also have, Stuart was telling me, we could have the DPW install it. So the monies that would be used for that, CPC money would not be able to go to the DPW. So that would have to be some collaboration with the town. And the only thing I have, I would probably want to clarify between now and the next committee meeting as well, is just the liability. So making sure that the town is not liable, and making sure that I think the point of the discussion earlier was about making sure everyone's up to speed about this. So I'm hoping something that could be developed. I think it's a small project, and obviously it's a popular place that people have been taking their dogs to now. It's been up for, I think, a number of years, from what Bill was saying to me when we met. So I didn't know if the committee had any specific questions, thoughts, comments.
Yeah, the only thing that I had was, I know they mentioned in here in their application that their maintenance would be very little. I just wasn't too sure how active the dog park is in the winter, because then you would have to be shoveling that. I don't know who, would be coming in if it gets icy. So there again, the liability is up to that. And I also wasn't too sure if you had any other bids besides the one that was submitted.
I can respond to the liability issue at least anyway. The park is open all winter, and basically we just clear the gates, and so they can open the gates and come into the park. As far as the path goes in the winter, we probably wouldn't bother clearing that. It would just be an open part of the open space, for as part of the park. We wouldn't specifically clear that pathway. I don't see a reason to do that. And from a liability standpoint, that issue came up way back when we were constructing the park. And it's just like the baseball field or soccer fields or anything else at Heritage Park. Everybody uses it, and if they slip and fall or something like that, then that's just part of what the accepted their accepted exposure is. So when they come into the park, it says as part of the rules, it says you're using at your own risk, and that as well. So. And from a liability standpoint, specifically for the dogs, dogs liability is strict liability in Massachusetts, where dog owners are liable for any damage or injuries caused by their dog, period. Because that came up. And I know that's not what you were talking about, but just to set that part of the liability issue straight, is that the town has no liability in any damages or anything like that from the dog standpoint. From a slip and fall standpoint, as I said, it's the same as a baseball field, a soccer field, or any other, the playground at Heritage Park or anything else. It all falls into that same category.
All right, but it is going to be asphalt, correct?
I'm sorry, what was that?
It is going to be. It looks to me like it's going to be like a sidewalk, but made out of asphalt, correct?
Yes, yeah, it will be, right. But as opposed to a sidewalk on the side of the street, you're not just directed to that part of the park only. You know, the park right now is wide open, and this is just gonna be a section that goes around the inside perimeter, and not gonna be necessary to use if you don't want to use it, you know.
Okay, what about, did you guys get any other bids?
I haven't at this point, no. I was in kind of was in a little bit of a rush just to, you know, to get something put into the application. The only thing I can say is that, you know, in dealing with the asphalt contractors in the past, they're always within $100 or so. I don't want to say anybody colludes or anything, but they do talk to each other, and they always seem to be within a very, very close dollar amount. But I can get another bid. I'm sure it'll be close to that anyway.
Yeah, I think, you know, this has been a kind of a question that I had asked about. This has been kind of a recurring question about some of these applications. It's like that there is this requirement of 3 bids or 3 bids, though there was also, I had heard conflicting opinions, well, that you don't necessarily need them after, you know, below a certain price amount. So I would recommend that it would be probably wise to have 3 quotes.
Okay.
And that would probably be more ideal. And I can definitely check and hopefully get like a exact answer on that question between now and the next meeting as well. And
Yeah, that won't be a problem. I could take care of that pretty quickly, actually, with a couple of other contractors. So.
Yeah, and I don't expect the time lapse between our last meeting and the next meeting to be as long as it had been between now and
Okay.
just before the pandemic. So we will be meeting in a timely manner again. So.
Okay.
So did anybody else on the committee have any comments or thoughts? Do the applicants have any questions, comments, thoughts?
John, did you receive that email I sent you with the bid on it?
I did. Yeah, the
Yeah,
first one.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying the first one I was unable. I think either maybe my computer or something prohibited me from being able to view it. But then the next one, I had to just adjust my computer, but I was able to zoom in and see it.
Yeah, I guess you know, I didn't know if, you know, if I should, you know, if we should submit the entire project or split it into those 2 that are listed there on that estimate. You know, which would be the best idea to do, I guess. And at this point, you know, I don't know, you know, by the sounds of it, I don't even know if we're going to be addressing it anyway, but whatever, that's why I submitted both of those figures. If you think both of them would work, or what, you know, the total would work, then that's great. And we would put in more as a dog park. We would put in more towards that. I would figure if we put in 10% of the bid, you know, that would help push things along too.
Yeah, I think definitely talking about the first one and then moving on to the second one would probably be a good
Okay.
process of doing it.
Okay.
Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to add?
I do. What are we looking for timeline with regards to follow-up meeting and award decision? What's the timeline that we're looking at
So
here?
my hope is to work with the town and then kind of try to solve a lot of these questions or concerns before the next meeting. Typically our committee meets once a month, the first Wednesday at 6:30. I was bouncing around the idea of perhaps meeting 2 weeks from now, but it may take a little bit more time to kind of get some of this information down and to talk to the different parties. So I'm thinking probably the first week of October probably is my next goal of a meeting date, if not maybe in 2 weeks. And then something that everybody would be able to meet for. The other thing is, even if we wanted to act on it this evening, unfortunately, we don't One member I have been trying to get in touch with on multiple occasions. I have not been successful at that. And another member either must have some technical difficulties or something. He was sent the information, but there must be maybe some type of issue on his end. And then we have 3 vacancies, so that puts us below the 5 people that would be needed to vote on these things. So it's also making sure that we have that in place, so then that we can vote on these different.
Thank you. So on the first week of October then is when the next meeting, once you do work with the town with their concerns, will occur. At that meeting, I'm just trying to get a decision timeline so that we know.
I hope to render some type of decision, render a decision at that point, because my hope is that all of the concerns and questions will have been hopefully met at that point.
Gotcha.
And then we can, go one way or however the committee feels.
Sure.
So.
Just thinking, it's winter coming and construction, so that's why I want to make sure.
Exactly. And if it's the committee's pleasure, and if we can perhaps do these things in a more timely manner, that it's possible 2 weeks. But I'm thinking now more in my head that we may not have that. It might be too much of a time crunch for asking for everybody to come up with all this stuff. So I think my guess is the rough timeline in my mind is that first week of October, and then we come to a decision hopefully on both the applications, and then in time because we'll have another cycle, we'll be just entering another cycle for future applications.
Okay, so other than the 2 additional bids on phase 1, there's nothing else that you would need from me right now. If there is, you can just get a hold of me anyway.
Yeah, no, nothing as of right now, but I'll probably be reaching out to one or both of you to, probably on the side here to probably just go over things and to kind of parse through and make sure we've kind of got all these concerns met. But I would say at this point for you guys, it would probably be wise to get the 2 additional quotes.
Sure, I can do that.
Now in the next meeting, you can email them to me, and then I can get the copies to the committee members electronically or by in paper, whichever is preferred.
John, it's Brian. I just have one question. On face value, this seems like a good project. Do you think they would need a wetland study? I just don't want anything to hold them up at the 11th hour if and when this goes through, with asphalt being put down close to the wetland areas within the park.
I can respond to that. When we built the park 7 years ago, we went through the conservation committee, and we were supposed to be 100 feet from any wetlands. So if you look at the layout of the park, our perimeter fence is defined by where the wetlands are and how far away we can be from the wetlands. So that's the perimeter fence. And the walkway that we're talking about is going to be inside the fence. So it's going to be further away from any wetlands than the existing fence line now. So we addressed that. I have it on file from when we had the study done. So when the park was built, that was one of the things that we had to address. So we're good there.
Okay, yeah, and so that sounds like that probably question got answered, but I can definitely, if there's any other problems that come up with that, I hope, the thing is, I don't want 2 days before and we've got this is, we need to look into this, we need to look into that. I want to make sure that everything, both for this application, the next application we'll be talking about, and for future application, any future application, just to make sure that all the kind of have it in a two-tiered system. So the first meeting we kind of have a lighter discussion. If anybody has any questions, they've looked over, the committee members have looked over the applications, and then kind of a final deliberation type thing, and hoping that everything's met at that second meeting. And then possibly if it's a much larger project, which this is a much smaller project, but if in a case of a much larger project, we might need an additional meeting or something. So that's sort of, I want to really avoid something like that happening for our next meeting. So, any other questions? Okay, well, thank you guys for presenting, and we will look at this. I will be in touch with you guys, and we will kind of start getting these questions squared away, and then we'll be back here hopefully 1 month from now.
Sounds good.
Great,
Thank you
thank
very
you for your
much.
time.
Definitely. Have a good evening, guys.
Bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, so, well, I first wanted to say before the next applicant, it's just a general thing to the committee members, to the previous applicants and the next applicants. Thank you for your patience. There has been obviously a big time lapse, and thank you for your patience going forward. This is definitely not the highest priority committee, but I appreciate everybody's involvement. I appreciate the applicants attending and giving us, some solid stuff to look at, to discuss. So I wanted to say that at the beginning of the meeting, but I appreciate that. So next we'll probably have, I'm thinking, the applicant, Mr. Tom Kay, and I think also the rec department. Donna Prather is here as well. So if you're able to raise your hands or. So I think we've got Tom, and then I believe it looks like Maryland is here as well.
Is Marilyn going to join, John?
I don't think she had anything to say.
Okay.
Marilyn, I'm not sure if you can hear us. Was there something
She's
you
just
wanted
raised
to
her hand if she wants to.
it doesn't look like it, at least from the last time I spoke to her prior to the meeting. So did Donna want to be invited in, or? Okay, I think that's everybody, but I'm not sure where Brian went. I think we may have lost Brian. Okay, we'll just kind of start moving. I'm not sure if Tom, you or Don, or either one want to start kind of just, I'm thinking talk about the project, kind of give an overview.
Sure.
Sort of thinking. Are you able to hear us, Tom, or?
Sure, I can hear you just fine.
So I didn't know if either you or Donna want to start kind of
Yeah,
discussing it.
I'll start since Donna's on mute. Number one, we submitted this back in early March, pre-COVID, and this project is at Pine Knoll Rec Area, located. You enter from Allen Street, and it is adjacent to our town pool, our Pine Knoll pool. And it also serves the community in regards to, and what, we were blessed to open this summer to provide camp up at Pine Knoll. And one of the reasons why this is an important project for recreation is that we service over 3,300 participants up at Pine Knoll. And we do not have a playground, but we do have a day camp up there. So, I think it's imperative when you have young children, and you can see in the 30-page packet that we submitted in March, you can see in that packet the location of where the playground would be and adjacent to the complex. You can see that we have significant interest from town members. And I also want to point out that over 90+% of the town is serviced by the Pine Knoll camp. And through the great work of the health department, Donna Prather, Mary, and everybody, and Jordy, the assistant rec director, were able to open up Pine Knoll to service the community, which greatly needs it. And recreation's a large part of our community as a whole. And so we felt, as a rec board, we voted on this back in the wintertime, in regards to seeing this as a possible idea for CPC funding. You'll see that we have quotes that we have. If I could read, I will read verbatim from Lindsay McCarthy to Donna. Hi, Donna. I was so happy to see an email regarding the possibility of a playground installed at Pine Knoll. Most children are at camp during the summer for 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. Granted, they are outside already with activities set up through our out of the day, but children need free playtime where they can run, climb, swing, and have fun. What is real with activities set throughout the day? This is really happening as they are learning so much more and don't even know it. Play is essential to child development. It allows children to be engaged with their surroundings and others in the community, to explore ideas and different ways to behave and grow in the process. Here are a few of the benefits from a playground: emotional, social, mental, creative, physical, and improved motor skills. When you look at a playground, you see happy, laughing kids, but not so much more is going on like they are developing. So the point I'm trying to make here is, in the middle of a pandemic and we shut down the playgrounds, and I see the importance of, no touching and all that stuff, but we were able to open Pine Knoll with socially distanced camping. All right. And this is a piece, it's a crown jewel of our community that services a large majority of the working families in the community during the summer. So we felt this was a very important project. And if anybody has any questions, please, if you have a chance, look at the packet. It's pretty robust in regards to the quotes. It's robust in where we're planning to put it. And Donna can also give insight too.
Okay, yeah, so if anybody had any questions, or if Donna, you wanted to add to that, I'm not sure she should be able to hear us.
She's on, but it looks like it's muted.
Yeah.
Donna, can you unmute? Let me text her.
Yeah, let me text her. Oh, also, Don, Brian Davis fell off.
I noticed that. I don't know how, Marilyn, I don't think it was your intention to be on.
That's correct.
So somehow or other.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, I'm not butting in.
Yeah, we sort of, it looks like we switched. Brian fell off and Marilyn fell in.
If Brian wants to use the link to get in,
Yeah, I'll tell him.
then I just bring him in that way. Marilyn, shall I?
You can take me out, and if I need to chat, I'll raise my hand.
Thank you. I couldn't, I thought maybe it was just a name change. Sometimes that happens.
I'm not sure. While Donna's working on that, does anybody have, Lynn, do you have any questions? I know we're waiting on Brian.
Oh,
and Donna,
Donna's
so.
calling me, guys. Hold on.
Oh, she's good.
Hello, Donna.
Did I get on?
I'm live on Facebook.
She's good.
So.
I think she's good now.
Okay,
Good.
I think I'm unmuted now.
Beautiful.
Yes, you are. And you're off the phone.
Oh. Good evening, Donna.
Donna,
Hi.
you're live.
Know if you
You're
wanted
live.
to kind of add to what Tom was saying, just about the project.
No, I think Tom did a great job. That he summed up everything that the input that we've got received. My only question to the group is, did we provide you with every piece of information that you needed?
Yes, I think, and it's been a couple days since I looked through it. I believe so there are 3 quotes contained in here from 3 different vendors.
We have multiple codes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Tom and group, I'm going to have to hop off here and go to another meeting.
Oh,
But
yeah.
thanks,
Yep.
Tom.
I'll see you at soccer.
Okay. All righty. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Donna.
All right. So, if anybody has any questions, please fire away.
I just have one question. There was a couple of designs. I'm not too sure if they were both going to be, is it combined or is it two different play areas you were getting prices on?
It's one area. It's what I affectionately call the Raccoon Park right now, where it used to be an old sand volleyball court, and the cats and everybody playing it. So we figured that this would be a much better choices than the large litter box that's being utilized out there right now.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna.
it's so if I could continue with it,
Sure.
you're tough to hear, Lynn. Can you hear me, Lynn?
I can hear you.
Okay. So you're asking about the size and the scope of it, or are you asking about the design of it?
Of the design, if you look at this, can you
Yes.
see?
Yep.
And then I see this one. Are they both the same?
Yes.
Okay, they are. Okay, that was my question. They're both part of the same design. I wasn't too sure if it was two separate designs, if you were getting prices on going one way or another way.
Yeah. If you look here, here's an actual picture of it. That's the design we were looking to go forward with. I don't know if it's under the CPC purview to, I don't know, I'm just asking the question, to do design, or do we, who goes and does design? What board do we go with for that? What board do we go in front of for design aspects and specs? John, do you know?
I think we might have purview under it. I guess so. I mean, I personally don't. I mean, unless it's some really crazy out of the box design. But usually playgrounds are pretty standard
Yeah.
type things. But yeah, I think that the location's important.
So as the school department received funding for the playgrounds on school property for 3 playgrounds at the 3 elementary schools. We kind of like you went along the same type of quotes, put together a nice, robust package, even consulted with Gordon Smith. I know Donna did on how that process was done.
And so Gordon has signed, has
So
signaled his
I
support for it.
don't know what the question is in regards to design. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I think you might be breaking up a little.
John, you're breaking up on me.
Okay, might be my end. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you a lot better.
Okay, perfect.
Technology, gotta love it.
Yeah. Okay, so you've talked to Gordon. You've obviously, that it sounds like a lot of families that have children that go there would be pretty interested in it. So the upkeep would be tasked with the rec department, making if there's wear and tear stuff, or especially now with because I'm not I know that the camps have been going on. I'm wondering would they be able to, let's just say now the summer camps have been over, but if there are things.
No, they're not over. They're not over. They're still open. We're keeping them open because school does not start until September 16th.
Okay, that's right.
We're trying to provide a wonderful service to the families of East Long Meadow.
Yeah, I'm more so if this were to hypothetically get approved, I was wondering would the children be able to basically use the playscape if we're still in sort of this COVID era where we're doing these socially distant things, because I know there will be many children that'll be kind of touching the same surfaces and whatnot.
Well, the criminal tape is been removed from all the other playscapes around town, so I would imagine that they could do that. And the way we do recreation at Pine Knoll at this time, we do it in specific pods that are created in groups of 10 to 12 based on various ages. Those pods stay within the group at all times. So they are not, they are all basically treated as the school would say, cohorts these days. So yes, I would say absolutely yes. I mean, right now, the rec department and the recreation team currently handle all the sanitizing of the pool, the locker rooms, all of the common areas up at Pine Knoll as we speak. All approved by the health department through Amy.
Okay. Yeah, that
They
was
work
just
very diligently on,
thought
very
that
diligently,
in my head.
just like this package was very diligently put together.
And we appreciate the, sending it to us on time, definitely giving us some leeway.
But
Unfortunately, just as the nature of where things have been going, we're now here in September, though, and we're able to start discussing it. I'm trying to.
I come. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you saying something?
No, sorry. I will stop. Go ahead, please.
No, I was just so there's no in where this playground will be going. There's no existing. It's kind of just an open area. There's no existing fields or anything. I played a lot of sports there when I was younger. I know there's a soccer field down by the kind of southern portion.
Yep, that soccer field. So John, that and CPC, that soccer field's actually used by little kickers and the small age group for soccer. And actually, there's a t-ball field also in the upper half. This would be in the left field of the t-ball field and above the little kicker soccer field in a spot that used to be a volleyball court that has turned into a sand pit for what I said earlier.
That's right. Okay, yeah. Now
It's basically just a little.
I
Been a dilapidated sand.
I'm sorry, you were saying.
It's been a dilapidated sand area for a long period of time. So it would be and think about it. It's not just Pine Knoll, but it's the families and the children that go to the little kicker soccer, right? And mom and dad. And when I was on CPC, and Lynn, you can probably remember this conversation that we had, was are these playgrounds going to be close to the soccer fields when the families are playing, so that they would have sight lines to see what is going on. And this is right there, and it's sometimes even rent out the space for East Long Meadow families to use for bar mitzvahs, for birthday parties, you name it. We do it. It's such a crown jewel. I wish more people knew about it because it's a wonderful, wonderful piece of property.
Yeah, they've made some pretty incredible updates.
And did everybody go quiet on me?
Oh, able to hear me better now, or?
I can hear you, John.
Okay. No, I was just commenting on. I
Yep.
probably went through
I hear you.
that program when I was younger. I played soccer there. I went into the pool to do swimming lessons. There's been events that I've been to when I was, not really that much long ago for me, but so no, it was a very fun experience. It is something that I think a lot of people don't realize that we have, and I always had such a great time being there, and didn't really know just how much.
I got booted off for a second, guys. So if you're asking me a question,
no, I was just commenting on. I've went through some of these programs, these summer camps when I was younger. So you mentioning all these locations that kind of bring back memories of things, and I know how important it is to the younger kids in East Long Meadow. At one point, I was one of those people.
hopefully they're good memories, John.
Yeah, yes, they are. I had a very fun time. I'm not I'm more of an indoor kid, but that definitely got me out and about with a bunch of people. So that was very happy memories. So I didn't know if anybody else had some thoughts or questions. I know Brian has kind of come back on successfully. Brian, I didn't know if you had any thoughts or comments or questions.
Yeah, the thoughts and questions I had was confirming the location of where it was going to be, but Tom answered that. I know exactly where that is. My son's at camp this summer there, so I know exactly where he's talking about, and I'd be perfectly fine with that location.
Okay, so I think I know that Bill has had his hand raised for some time, so I was going to allow if either one of our attendees wanted to speak or comment on anything so far this evening. I think he should be coming on. Good evening, Bill.
Hi there. Can you hear me and see me now?
Dark outside.
Yeah, I was actually having trouble before. I didn't know. I've been here for quite a while, but I didn't know if I could get in. And I guess one of my, and again, I'm an outsider now, but one of my questions was looking at the proposal, the amount of money that you're looking for, Tom, and also I was on CPC when we did the three. Actually, they were just playscapes, if I'm right, at three of the schools. My question is: this seems like a lot more money. The three playscapes we did were, if I'm right, about 153,000. This is 180,000. Now, this could be completely different. My question is, what is the difference to, considering the amount of money you're asking for?
Well, in consistency across the board, you were talking about three different school landscapes. One wanted a swing set, and one wanted a full-blown playground. The one over at Mountain View. All right. Here, this is a combination of pretty much all of it. That was done probably, I think, Bill, what was it, 5 years ago now?
Thereabouts, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're looking at, quotes that are a little bit less, a little bit more, but we wanted to put a tagline in there of 180,000 just to give a benchmark because we didn't want the Heritage Park thing to come back up again and everything else. So what we wanted to do was make sure that there's a clear defined amount that we were looking forward to. If you look in there, there is a quote in there for less than 180,000, but we wanted to earmark it for 180,000, no more, no less. And we put that specifically, no more, no less. And we, just like when the pool was done by CPC, there was money returned on any excess.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not doubting it at all. As a matter of fact, I did look at the sketch of it, and it looks, frankly, to me, it looks fantastic. Now, it's been, sorry, too many years for me, especially with little children, which I have medium-sized grandchildren now, but it looks like a very nice play area. So what CPC did 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever, with the schools was really kind of piecemeal, and this is an entire playground, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you.
this was, if you took all three schools, excuse me?
So go ahead.
Oh, if you took all three of the schools combined together, this would be that playground.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have Maryland raised her hand. So thank you, Bill. Bill, do you have anything else to add or any other thoughts?
No, that was my major question, just the comparison between the current one and the three much smaller ones we did previously.
Okay. I think Marilyn just coming in now. She just raised her hand, so she should be loading any minute now. Should be coming on.
So I also have a point. I mean, I tried to raise my hand, Don, while the Bark Park was for questions. Is that open mic time or is that not?
Open mic time. The chairman's running the meeting, so when he asks me to invite somebody in they come.
Oh, because I hit to ask a question, but go ahead.
I understand, but I'm not running the meeting. You understand?
Okay.
That's an oversight. I apologize. I didn't I knew you were an applicant this evening, so I didn't realize that you had a question regarding the other one. But if you have one right now,
No, because they're not present, so it's not fair to them.
okay. But I will make sure that when that comes up again, when we discuss them again in October. So I apologize on my end of that oversight. So, Maryland, I didn't know if you had a thought or a question or comment.
Actually, my question has to do with the previous approval, pre-COVID, the previous approval of town council for the architectural study. I think it was $115,000 for the 2 fields at Heritage Park. And I was wondering where we were in that process. Are we moving along on that? Can anyone give us an update on what's happening?
Are you asking germane to this,
No, I'm
to
asking
Pine Knoll, or?
because we have an existing project on our plates, and where are we? Now we're looking at a second project, and I just wanted to know where we are with the first project.
Mhm.
I could comment, or I'm not sure if Tom.
Yeah, I can comment to that. I think.
Okay, yeah. I'll just say quickly, I'm sorry, I'm coming in and out here, so I apologize. I have not heard anything in regard to that. I haven't heard any updates so far. I know COVID era has sort of like basically taken everything that we were working on all the way up until the middle of March, and then sort of just moved, things around. So I can look into that and try and see what the sort of the progress has been, what's been going on in regards to it, because I know that the money was appropriated, approved through recommended through us, approved through the council. So I'm going to see what sort of the progress, give the committee and the community kind of a progress update on where this stands.
Well, they were going out for request for proposal or bids or however you define it, and perhaps that process was waylaid with COVID. I'm not sure about the timing, but I was just curious as to the status with the project that's already been approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so does anybody have any?
I finally unmuted myself and came out from the darkness. I can answer that now. Took myself off mute. In regards to that question, Marilyn, that's part of a bigger plan in regards to the open space and rec plan. So it's more of a comprehensive plan now that's bundled in with open space and recreation. To answer your question.
So no monies have been spent.
No monies have been spent.
And so so the architectural study is still pending.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Because that was done through, if I remember right, that was done through town council, CPC, and everything else in between. Through COVID, everything's been delayed.
I know. And perhaps what the town manager said earlier, maybe it's a good thing that it's been on hold. So perhaps those issues can all be incorporated into a much more comprehensive plan going forward. That's fine. You answered my question.
I don't know if this is the place, but I mean, there's so many different recreational areas that are underutilized in our town, whether it's Brown property, Heritage Park, how do we incorporate everything else in between? And it's an open space and rec plan. And there's beautiful conservation land, as Bill knows, beautiful conservation land all over this beautiful town of ours that's underutilized, that could be utilized, especially today, getting kids out, incorporating as part of a learning plan, all kinds of different things that we can use on the walking trails of Brown property and everything else in between. So
I absolutely agree with you.
Hey.
Write that down.
I know.
Okay, so so mainly my thoughts were, I want to work with Mary, work with Donna into the other parties, and to kind of just make sure that we're all on the same page going into the next meeting, because, you know, it sounds like it's a very, you know, comprehensive application. You know, it obviously has the support of many of the town residents and their children that will go. They will, you know, greatly benefit from this playground, and it'll probably enhance the experience at the summer camp or at the Little Kickers games, and all the other things that are held at the Pine Knoll on an annual basis. So that my hope is, like I sort of said to the previous applicant, is that we kind of, you know, get all of our thoughts in now, our questions in now, and then kind of regroup and then try to work out the different issues that have come up, or questions, or concerns that all these different stakeholders have. So making sure the town's on the same page, and then, you know, any committee members' concerns are met as well, so that this, you know, everyone has all those thoughts brought to the table. So then when we move into this, hopefully by the beginning of October, there's, again, none of these 11th hour things, or things that will kind of impede or drag it along. Because I appreciate again, I'll say, I appreciate the patience, because it has been a long time. There have just been a number of things that have problems that have beset us. Our committee almost kind of represents the entire year. Just there's different issues that have arisen. So I'm hoping that that's sort of the game plan with this application as well as the previous application, because obviously Mary did bring up some important points, and I want to make sure, you know, everybody's on the same page. I don't think this committee should be doing things that, you know, we should be all working in lockstep per se. So those are my thoughts, at least. Did anybody else have some remaining?
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? How many board members are we presenting to tonight?
We are
We're
only
3, 5. How many?
We're presenting to counting myself 4. I have reached out on through multiple phone calls and multiple emails, and to no avail. Our 6th member I have not heard from. Our 5th member I was in touch with recently as I'm going to say 2 or 3 days ago. He had received paper copies and said that he was able to get on tonight for Zoom. And I did extend to him, you know, if you had any last minute delays or something, you know, you can always call me up and I can kind of have you sitting right here to my left on speakerphone or something if there's a technology barrier. So unfortunately, neither of, for those reasons just stated, they're here tonight. So unfortunately, even if we did have the intention of voting, which even if they were here, I thought it was much better to have a 2-tiered process to this. So get the concerns, the first thoughts, kind of a first take, and then move on to sort of a final discussion about it. So that's sort of unfortunately where we kind of stand. And I'm hoping, you know, I have, you know, an application, an individual that was passed along to me yesterday. So I'm going to be checking in with that person to see if they would be interested in joining. And I say this to everybody at home. I say this to everybody that's on right now. If there are anybody that's interested, you know, if you're a town resident, if you're interested in joining, you don't even need to have any prior knowledge, just the willingness of listening and kind of discussing these, you know, important applications that come before us. And we will have, you know, likely more in the very near future. Brian, did you have something to say?
No, John, sorry. I'm good.
I actually have a question about the terms. How long are the terms for community preservation if somebody were to join?
So it is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 3-year term, or maybe it's a 5-year term. And then what they would have to do is they would have to email the town manager with an intent of, you know, applying or interest in the position, and then they would have to get sworn in, and they would become a part of the committee. There's for those who don't know, it's a 9-member board. 6 of the members are from previous committees, and those boards select somebody from that committee to be basically the representative. And then the 3 that are currently vacant are at-large positions, residents would be permitted to join. Maryland, I think, I'm not sure if you.
Just to clarify that, it's my understanding under the supervision of the previous town manager, these were all annual appointments.
Annual, okay.
Annual appointments. It's clearly the committee is established, and then if people are continuing to serve and serve well, they're appointed, and it's sort of indefinite. But the problem is just finding people who want to spend the time to serve.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
just a point of information. I had next to me here a copy of my appointment certificate, which was August 9th of 2017, and mine says a 2-year term. Now, I don't know if it was different. Yeah, I'm looking at it, but 2-year term will expire on August 1, 2019. So maybe it was different then, but just thought I'd let you know that.
Good.
Good information to know, so that future potential candidates for the open committee spots know that the time length that is expected, and then of course that if they are interested in continuing serving, they also have that right as well. So with that, I'm going to sort of kind of wrap things up. Does anybody else have any final thoughts or comments while we have this applicant in front of us? Marilyn.
And just quickly, one of the things that Mary McNally, our town manager, brought up earlier is that wanting to be more involved in these decisions that affect our town property. And, she was hired and trying to get established, and then we jumped into COVID. So there's been so much going on that it's this sort of, the importance of that piece sort of slipped through the cracks. So I just felt it was good that we were reminded this evening that, as our town manager, she needs to be involved in what's happening at the CPC level with projects such as this. Thank you.
I agree. I was pleasantly surprised and had a great conversation with her before this meeting to talk about the CPC, these applications. So I will, as long as I'm in this position, I'm planning on looping her into the applications that come forward and letting her know. And yeah, you're right, Marilyn. Mary came onto the job, not that, still relatively recently, and then COVID happened. So it didn't completely cross my mind at that point to loop her into this, because I know there are much bigger issues that have been happening in the community. And so everybody's been, I think, doing their best to keep things moving forward in the town and making sure everyone's safe and healthy and whatnot. So that's something I'm hoping to do more of going forward, and having those discussions with her and the other town officials that are involved in the process.
Good.
Okay, so I have a question now. I thought it was my understanding when we had an application, it does go to the town manager's office. That's where they have to apply to first before we even get it. Is that not the case anymore?
Marilyn, Bill.
What, no, my hand is up.
Who's
I'm
up first?
good to be recognized. John, can I speak?
Yes, yeah, Maryland.
Yes, for the sake of organization, that the assistant to the town manager was sort of the point person to accept the applications, to funnel them through the CPC. At that point in time, I could be honest with you, I don't believe that that the town manager gets involved. It's just an organizational setup, a phone number that we can call, or a face to put to the applications, and then the applications come to CPC and they vet them. There wouldn't be any value for the town manager to get involved in a project that CPC vets and doesn't qualify. So I think there is certainly an opportunity to get the town manager involved, but not at that very moment that you suggested. But it's still there.
Yeah, I know that is, I think, the technical process of it. I do know that the date, and I'm looking at the date when these were submitted, and from what I recall, when I had received word about both applicants, it was basically like a week prior, everything basically shut down. So I think going forward, that's probably the standard practice that should be used, perhaps an email or mailing out of the application first to the assistant to the town manager, and then if it's a project that's needed of the town manager's attention, that could be worked out as well, and then having them be kind of the first people to receive that. But I know that, like, at that point, we're talking the end of March, kind of the height of this thing, or the height of a lot of the lockdowns and restrictions, that I don't think the town hall was open at that point in time.
Actually,
Yes, Tom.
if I may, our application was submitted on March 6th, 3rd, if I recollect correctly. Not
Yeah,
late,
I'm
not-
looking at,
it was
it might have, I'm looking at, because I have it right in front of me, March 31st is when when you had signed the front document.
That is not, no, because you had, if I remember right,
Here, I got it right here. Can you see it?
thank you. Then I'm confusing. April 4th was supposed to be the meeting, right? And that was canceled?
Yes, that was
That's
I think when we were.
My apologies.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I
And then everything-
confused April, March. I confused June with December right now, as we all do, probably.
Yeah, we're all, I know, we're all kind of operating on some of these days, especially at the height of this. I mean, it was like, what was the difference between a Wednesday and a Thursday, or, so we kind of, got confused with that. But yeah, I do remember you guys submitting it. I think you had reached out, and then Melanie from the other application reached out shortly before you guys. So yeah, it was in on time, but yeah, I recall it being just before the April 4th meeting. And then I think for some small period of time, there were no meetings at all that were town meetings. And then eventually they got to do Zoom meetings. So, and now that's where we still stand today.
Seems so long ago.
Yes, it does. It's weird to think that this is considered, but some people think this is the new normal. Definitely not a normal to me, but Tom, did you?
Yeah, so did we do the process correctly?
I will have to ask if Jackie received anything. The way I remember accepting the application was you had sent me an email with the application. I disseminated it to the rest of the committee. I'm not sure if the assistant town manager received it. I know that's when I received it. And I think the process is to submit it to the town manager, and then perhaps.
Is that listed on the instructions?
I'm sorry, what?
Yes, it is.
I'll go look at the email and see if Mary was on it.
Good point.
Which she might have been. I can dig up the email.
Then I did the process
afterwards, but I know it was all the way back in March. So.
Okay. Well, anybody has any more questions? I'm here, but I want to sign off. Go quiet.
More thoughts from the applicant or questions to the applicant? If not, Tom, thank you. So we'll just kind of go from here. I'm going to start talking and reaching out to, work with Mary, with Donna, and just to make sure that any unanswered questions get answered between now and the next meeting, which again, I'm hoping for to be that first Wednesday. So thank you. And so pretty much the last topic that I had was just setting another meeting to Lynn, to Brian, and I'm not sure if Ralph is able to hear us, but I will reach out to him at some other point. How does that first Wednesday in October feel to you guys?
What's the date? I think it should be
October
fine.
7th. Wednesday, October 7th, John.
Yes, Wednesday, October 7th. Thank you, Mr. Mackey.
All right, just wait a second. For some reason, I think the 7th is not good. No, I'm not good with that. Sorry. I can do, I can do before that, the 1st, 2nd, or the 5th, but I'm going away.
So if I may, I don't want to intrude too much, but the problem is Wednesdays are already booked for the library trustees, and there's other boards that meet. So the other option would be to go to the Thursday. Thursday is actually pretty much the go-to relief day when meetings double up, but I don't know if that works for people. But you could do the 8th then, October 8th.
Well, you can throw it out there, see if we get a quorum, without me, otherwise, it's just not.
I don't need to be putting myself in a position of deciding that for you, but I am working on trying to set up a calendar to manage all these Zoom meetings. And since I was working on it, I'm familiar. So I'm just making that as a point of information, but the board, it's up to the board to decide. So I just wanted to get that information out there.
Okay, thank you, Don. John, as far as for me, right now, Wednesdays and Thursdays look okay. That may change when school starts for the kids, but as of now, either of those nights should work.
Okay. Maybe what we could do either, because I think quorum will probably, I'm really hoping that, maybe we can pull out, 1 or 2 extra people going into the next meeting, or it would be ideal if all 3 seats were filled out. My thought is we could also possibly do that week prior. Now, I know that Tony has Conservation Commission meetings that are held on the same day of the week, but they're alternating. They're like the 2nd and I think the 4th week or something of that nature. So maybe perhaps either a Wednesday or a Thursday the week prior. Don, I'm not sure if you have that information.
I do have that information. I can tell you, just give me a second here. He's on the calendar. So for October 2020, October 7th, so because I'm trying to put this whole calendar together for basically through next year, being the first Wednesday would be available always for community preservation. Concom is the 2nd and 4th Wednesday, and the Board of Library Trustees are always the 3rd Wednesday. So that leaves the first or the 5th for the months that have a 5th Wednesday. That I've sort of penciled in ZBA because they need a chance to meet. So that's why I say everybody wants to meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursdays and Fridays are wide open.
Maybe we can, to try to make sure everybody can make it, we can try to perhaps explore a Thursday option, maybe either the week before or the next day or something, as long as it works for everybody. I know, unfortunately, we don't have all the entire committee on here, so I'm going to be reaching out to those who aren't here or can't hear us or able to communicate this evening.
I would also say that I'm in the process of. Mary's aware of this calendar. She's sort of had a quick look at the draft of it. It hasn't been vetted or organized or anything at this point, but my hope is that it gets fixed if it needs to get fixed in places and established as soon as possible so that everybody has access to it. Ultimately, it will make everyone's lives a lot easier.
Yeah.
Especially mine.
That is half the battle is simply just putting together the when to meet, the timing, making sure it works for everybody, making sure it works for the town. So yeah, half the battle.
Okay, John, we'll do what you need to do for the 7th. And like I said, I mean, if we can get a quorum, I would just jump on it. If you can't, well, then we're kind of in the same predicament anyways. My plan was to be on vacation. I mean, we've been doing Zoom. I mean, I can't say for sure I would be able to Zoom on vacation, depending on where I am and what I'm doing. So,
No, it definitely, I think vacations, I've had the opportunity to go to the beach a few times this summer. So definitely, yeah, we can, you won't need to do that.
And I will say there, the week before, the Thursday works the week before. The Wednesday doesn't work, but the Thursday works the week before, if you have your information in time.
yeah, I'm good the week before.
So that cuts down your time frame a little bit in terms of you gathering what you want, but I'm just saying Thursdays are essentially wide open.
So that'd be October 1st.
That would be
Correct.
October. Okay. Yeah, we can maybe, if it works for both of you so far, I know I can make that work. And then as long as the other committee members and if a representative to each applicant, and I'm sure that should be able to work. So if that can all happen, then yeah, Thursday could definitely be an opportunity.
Okay. All right, I'll pencil it down now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then I think it's just going to be mainly these applications. And then I'm guessing, you know, I spoke to the Norcross House, some of the committee members not too long ago. I'm guessing there's going to be other applications. So maybe even just to kind of eyeball them, to take a look at them or to disseminate them and then discuss them at the next meeting would probably be the way to go. And I don't anticipate anything else coming up between now and then besides these two applications. So that's pretty much what I think the agenda will look like. And then I also actually, I'll make a note of this, but the Heritage Park, I'll probably be looking into that if there's any lingering questions regarding that previous project. So. Okay, well, I want to, if does anybody else have anything else they want to add?
No, I'm good, John.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Don Mackey, everybody that's helping put together these Zoom meetings. It's definitely a lot of work, a lot of technical difficulties, but I really, we all appreciate your hard work with this. And I thank everybody on the committee for being here this evening. I thank the applicants for participating. So I'm hoping going forward, we will address these applications further. And obviously we don't have the quorum to technically adjourn, so I don't think we can really make a motion to adjourn. I think it's just goodbye, good evening, take care everyone type.
No, but technically this not a meeting?
Well, we can't vote on anything, but it was scheduled in. The agenda is there. It's public. This meeting will be recorded. So anybody who wanted to watch it but wasn't able to will be able to watch it. So technically,
I enjoyed it. It was nice being able to look at these things and talk to them and get some information. It was very good.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah. I was very glad with how the meeting went and everything. All the technology held. I have some audio issues whenever I'm Zooming from my house. So thank God that didn't kind of really come into play because I've had major problems in the past with other things. So, all right. So thank you again, everyone. And everyone have a great evening and rest of the night.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for setting this up, John.
Yeah.
Definitely. Good night, everyone.